in life are always worth taking. Love and money is always worth making. Just grab on and hold on tight. You're in for the ride of your life.
Once again, joined by Levi. Levi, how are you doing?
Doing well, man. How you doing today?
Doing pretty well. Can't complain at all. I guess let's go ahead and dive into today's subjects. First of all, I just want to go ahead and recap the past two games, Tennessee's victories against Missouri and Oklahoma from the field combined. Tennessee went 56 from 102, which is 54.9%. That would bring their field goal percentage, if they were to continue that, which is highly unlikely, from 164th to the number one field goal percentage in the country. They shot 19 of 36 from three, which, once again, highly unlikely to sustain, but 52.7%, which would bring them from 148th in the country to number one. And then 77.5 points per game, bring them from 166th to 95th. Obviously, Tennessee cannot sustain those numbers. That's highly unlikely, but it's a positive trend to see an offense that was somewhat struggling to start to find its groove again. Levi, what do you have to say?
Well, player of the game for Missouri is obviously Igor Milicic.
Agreed.
That's what you expect from him. I mean, 6 for 7 from 2-point land, 2 for 3 from 3, 3 for 4 from the free throw line, 10 rebounds, only 2 fouls, played incredible defense, had 4 blocks. Just a master class from Igor in the Missouri game. I don't see many teams beating us if we're getting that from Igor, along with obviously the other guys that definitely had great games. Zakai had a great game. Maybe those guys just needed a little break, but it was nice to see both those guys get back into the lineup and start. And we struggled a bit early with Missouri. I didn't like the beginning of the game, but if you have anything to say about that second half other than, wow, that was really nice to see, you just don't understand basketball.
Agreed.
I will say we talked about Caleb Grill last week. I thought we did a pretty solid job of running him off his spots.
Agree again.
The one time that we did run him off his spot, somehow he throws up one from the top of the key and banks it in, which it's like Rick Barnes said, he's the type of guy that no matter what, if you don't make him put it on the floor 100%, he's going to be able to get it up there. And those are the types of guys you got to worry about. Tony Perkins had a really great game against us as well. I wasn't very happy with the way we defended him or giving up 81 points, as you and I are both defensive guys. Giving up 81 points is kind of rough to watch. But when it was 39-28, the people in Thompson Bowling were getting a little bit upset, and I was trying to tell everybody, like, hey, like, let's relax, like, let's see what happens here, in this next little stretch run that's coming up, this next like 5 to 6 minutes. And the boys turned it on. Was very happy with that. I don't really have a whole lot to say about the Oklahoma game, Dallas, because when you come out and shoot the ball like that to start the game, you're going to beat just about anybody in the country. I thought they did a great job, as we highlighted on Jeremiah Fears. I thought they did about as good of a job as you possibly could have on a guy that is likely a lottery pick. He had 8 points, and Jalen Moore was their only, Jalen Moore, sorry, was the only guy on their team that had double figures, and he shot the ball pretty poorly, 4 for 12. So overall, you can't be mad. They kind of whipped us a little bit late, but I think that was just kind of Tennessee, letting off the gas pedal, trying to get some guys minutes and some lineups that we hadn't really played. So I'm not too mad whatsoever about the week, but we have a huge week coming up. So we'll definitely have to see. I think you have to give the MVP to Zakai Ziegler in that Oklahoma game. The fact that my guy had 7 assists in the first half, 8 assists, sorry. You can't beat that. So overall, great week of basketball for us, in my opinion.
Agreed. And before we move on to the slate coming up this week, I do have something I just want to run across to you. I want you to pay attention to each of these stats and tell me, between these two teams, which team you would take. Okay, so Team A averaged 78.8 points per game. They had a plus 11 scoring margin, shot 31% from three, had an offensive rating of 112.1, a defensive rating of 95.9, and a strength of schedule of 10.4. So now Team B, 75.0 points per game, so a little bit down, a scoring margin of plus 15.4, 4 points higher, 3 point shooting, 34.4%, 3 percentage points up, an offensive rating of 114.1, a defensive rating of 90.7, and a strength of schedule of 10.2. So kind of similar to the team A. So Levi, which team would you personally take?
After all those stats, I think I would prefer Team A overall, but Team B is very enticing to me. I'm wondering who these teams are. I would probably take Team A, though.
Team A was last year's Tennessee team. Team B
Okay.
is this year's Tennessee team.
Okay. I
So
don't think there's a whole lot of difference in the two.
no, definitely not. And when you have some saying that they was afraid the offense would fall off without Dalton Connect, and then there's even been some comments during the season that the offenses fell off when the numbers simply say otherwise. All right, so let's move on and discuss this week's slate. First of all, we have Tennessee going on the road to Lexington to face off with the Kentucky Wildcats. Last time out, Tennessee against the Wildcats. Tennessee scored 73 points, shot 34% from the field, 24% from three on 45 attempts, which would be the most attempts per game in the country if that were to continue. Obviously, it's not compared to Tennessee's average of 25 per game. In this matchup, I feel like Tennessee's going to have to play better defense. I feel like that defense is what cost them the last game. They allowed Kentucky to go 50% from the field, 50% from three. That's just not going to cut it. At home, Tennessee's defense is fifth in the country. And funny enough, on the road, it's fourth. So Tennessee's defense does seem to improve a little bit on the road, which is something that a talking point during the game. I feel like Chaz needs to continue to play within the offense. Don't really force the issue. Towards the end of the Oklahoma game, I felt he kind of forced the issue a little bit. Wound up going 3 of 10 from three, which was not really telling how well he shot. I think Okpara needs to continue his recent play. He's been very dominant for you, and he's a presence down low that is deterring almost any rim attacks. And then I feel like Zakai Ziegler needs to continue his well performance, which I look forward to him doing. As a metrics currently likes Tennessee to pull off the somewhat of an upset just because it's on the road at Rupp Arena, but 74-70. Levi, what do you have to say?
I agree with all the sentiments you just made. I'm not too scared of this matchup for us, to be honest.
Me neither.
I personally think as long as we don't shoot the ball, like their game plan worked perfectly into their hands. I think we've gone away from the offensive system that we were running. As you could see in the last 2 to 3 games, it seems that we've gotten back to getting downhill, trying to get to the bucket, try to get some fast break points, which is weird because against Missouri we had 0 fast break points, but I don't know that I've seen that stat in a long time. But overall, I think that Tennessee is essentially flipped the switch offensively. Obviously, you're not going to shoot the ball at the clip that you have, the last 2 games, which is just a ridiculous amount, as you've already stated with the stats when we opened up. But for some reason, I'm oddly confident going into this game. I think Tennessee's definitely going to handle their business. I think that we're going to come out, be a little upset about how it went prior game. So I really like Tennessee in this game. And I also think Felix Okpara will be dominant in this game. He wasn't very dominant in the first game. I personally believe that we're going to get quite a few offensive rebounds. I think Milicic plays pretty solid on the road. So I really, really like our chances here against Kentucky. The problem is I'm worried about the referees, Dallas, and I know that you're a big Kentucky guy, being from there and everything. So I'm sure you're probably concerned yourself about the referees just as much as I am.
I am, but Tennessee has a history of going in there and winning, especially under Rick Barnes. I mean, There's the game last year where Dalton Connect did not have his greatest performance, and Tennessee still found a way to put up 100 plus points. There's a Lamonte Turner dagger that will always be remembered in this household. And I just feel like Tennessee has had a pretty good look in Rupp Arena here lately. Do you have anything else, Levi, you want to add on Kentucky before we move to Vanderbilt that I admittedly don't have much to say about?
One more thing to say, we got to figure out a way to counter their bench. As you've said many times on this podcast, our bench has not scored the ball too well this year.
They did a pretty good job at
It
Oklahoma.
They did they did a solid job. You can give Gainey some good credit for that one. But we have to figure out a way to counter their bench. They play about 60th in the country on their bench minutes, and their bench itself really does kind of hold them up, keeps them afloat. We play 320th in the country bench minutes, so we definitely have to figure out a way to counter the fact that they're going to be able to sub. And I'm like I said, the only thing that truly worries me is the referees. I worry that Felix Okpara or even Igor, hopefully not Zakai, get into foul trouble, and then you got to start piecing things together again. So that's really the only thing that does concern me about this game is just like if we get into foul trouble, what are we going to do? So I'm really hoping they let us play, but you never know up there, around there in those parts that you reside in. So
Yeah, if Tennessee gets to play physical in their brand of basketball, I like the Vols all night long. But moving on to Vanderbilt, which like I said, I don't have much to say. I feel like this is one Tennessee is at home, and kind of like the Kentucky game, Tennessee hardly ever loses a game to, excuse me, hardly ever loses a series to a team. If they lose the first one, they're going to win the next one. It's pretty much a given. I feel like Tennessee should win this one pretty handily. Has the metrics, has the balls, 75-62. I seem to like that number, Levi.
yeah, absolutely. I mean, if Jason Edwards isn't able to come down and chuck up random threes, and uh, we definitely got to worry about Jalen Carey punking our guys down low again. But at the home on the home floor, we should be perfectly fine in this game. I hate to come on here and just sound like I'm a GBO all the way type guys. As you know, I've picked other teams to beat us a couple times this year, but I don't really have anything like I'm not scared of either of these teams this week. I think Tennessee's going to be locked in. It's looked like a different team recently, and I
Agreed.
think that also the fact that Vanderbilt rushed the court and talked quite a bit, yapped a little bit out there against our guys. I think that there'll be something to prove against Vanderbilt for sure at home, but it doesn't really matter, Dallas, because it seems like every time we play Vanderbilt, somehow it becomes a close game no matter what. You can't, it's almost a coin flip when you play Vanderbilt, either home or away, unless they're just as bad as they were last year. But now that they have good coaching again, you definitely got to watch out. I also don't see Tyler Nickel, the kid that, what he hit 4 or 5 threes against us there. I don't see him
Sure.
coming into TBA and getting good looks. So I actually like Tennessee to win the Vanderbilt game by about 12 to 15 points.
I tend to concur. So, Levi, it's time to move on to our hardly known hoopers. Hit the music.
These people don't know who I am, man. They gonna know who I am.
These people hardly know me though. Do they know me? Hey, these people hardly know me though. Do they know me? Hey, these people hardly know me though.
All right. Well, my hardly known hooper, Levi, is Andrea Kostic. He's an NBA draft prospect for this upcoming draft. He's currently a second-round guy, so he could possibly not go in this year. He's a lengthy shooting guard, 6'6", gets downhill very nicely and creates offense. He's a very good passer. Doesn't really play above the rim. He's more of your traditional he's white, so we've talked about these white guys that aren't necessarily the most athletic. Most
It's our
recently,
thing, man.
absolutely, most recently for Dynamic Belgrade, which is the team he plays for, he had 39 points, 4 assists, 3 rebounds, and 3 steals. went 8 of 14 from three and 13 from 20 overall on 34 minutes. I have to give a shout out to Andre Kostic. Levi, who do you have?
I got Titan Anderson this week from good old Northern Iowa, leading Northern Iowa. They're a team that, as we know, you got to watch when it comes to March Madness. They'll be, I guess, so they're typically, 13, 14, 15 seed. They can give you trouble, but yeah, I have Titan Anderson. Really fills it up. He's only 6'6", but once again, I'm going back to my Grant Williams ways and saying that if you let this man get to the free throw line, he's going to get there. So he plays a lot bigger than 6'6". He's ranked in just about everything Ken Palm you could think of. He basically leads the conference and everything, especially in free throw rate. 70% free throw rate is crazy. So he fills it up, but if he starts to shoot from outside, that's where I would like him if I'm the defense to be. But if he starts to post up, he's absolutely going to score on your big, and it doesn't even matter. I watched him the other night, and it was actually kind of funny to watch him against a guy that's 6'11" at 6'6", 6'7". Just, I mean, he just played bully ball, played the Dallas ball, scored some points, and made it look like it was easy. Had 6 assists, had 8 rebounds, only 2 turnovers. So he's definitely fun to watch if you ever, which people are going to get to watch Northern Iowa because of the fact that they're going to make the tournament once again. Definitely check out Titan Anderson whenever March Madness rolls around.
Moving on to our college basketball pick'em, the current records. I am 19 and 17, went 2 and 2 on the week. Levi, you're 24 and 12. You went 3 and 1 on the week. If you hadn't pulled out that damn Florida game, but
I called it correctly. If anybody doesn't believe that I was right about that one or thought that was just made up, they can go check out the last week's podcast when I said that I think Florida's going to shoot the ball off the cover, and what happened? They did. So
got lucky and you know it.
never
All right.
wrong, never really, really right.
All right, moving on to this week's games, we have Arkansas at A&M. I personally have taken the Aggies. Calipari has the Hogs doing pretty well lately. They just fell short of beating Alabama, but I have to take the Aggies. Levi, who do you have?
I will take the Aggies as well on that one. Too much physicality.
I pretty much agree. All right, moving on. Wisconsin at Purdue. I'm going with the Boilermakers here. It's kind of a coin flip game, if you ask me. Matt Painter, he's a pretty good regular season coach, and he gets it done in the regular season. So I'm going with the Boilermakers. Levi?
You said this is at
At
Mackey,
Purdue.
correct?
Yes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. As I stated a couple weeks ago, I'm not picking against Purdue at Mackey. It's a weird stadium. It's a weird arena. They always get the calls. Yeah, give me Purdue.
Sounds good. And then we have Houston at Arizona. Arizona recently has had a pretty entertaining game. Tobe Awaka had a pretty nice performance. He's been doing pretty well here lately for the Wildcats. But I'm going with Houston. Defense travels, and Kelvin Sampson's teams are going to defend the heck out of the ball. Levi, who do you have?
I don't know that Arizona can continue what they've been doing. They've had a nice stretch. They're going to get into the tournament based off their last stretch, but I don't see any way they can beat Houston. But then again, I don't know, not to go off subject here, Dallas, but I don't know if you watched the Texas Tech game where Texas Tech got their best player thrown out, then their coach thrown out, and somehow still beat Houston at Houston. I'm not gonna leave anything up to chance, but I do like Houston in that game, but it's like 50-50. I could have flipped a coin on that one.
I agree. And moving on to our last game, we have the Iron Bowl basketball version. Auburn at Alabama. I'm going with Alabama. I'm going for them to upset Auburn. I guess it technically isn't an upset, but once again, for Auburn to lose, I'm going with the Tide. Levi, who do you have?
I'm going to go opposite of you. I like Auburn in this game. I think they'll come out fired up. They've played well in that arena most of the time. it's not like it really matters for us all that much. I would like a double bye in the SEC tournament. Not that I care about the SEC tournament, but I would prefer double bye just to get our guys a little rested up and maybe just play one game, get it over with. But I do like Auburn to go into that crap arena that Alabama seems to think is a basketball arena and win that game.
Okay, I got you down. All right, so let's move on to our locker room cleaning update. As always, hit the music.
We interrupt this program for a special locker room cleaning update.
All right, welcome to the locker room cleaning update. First of all, let's start off with the Lady Vols shock UConn and win 80-76 on the Volunteers' home court. It was a tremendous night for women's basketball fans as they got a game that was just absolutely entertaining as all get out. Z Spearman paced the Vols with 16 points. Tamara Spencer had 14. Tarlasia Cooper had 11. And Jewel Spear had 12. UConn looked shell-shocked at the end. Not going to lie, I don't think they expected to lose that game. And speaking of the Huskies, I just have a quick question for Levi. Do you find Paige Beckers attractive?
No,
Okay.
not a lick, not a single lick.
I think
There's a few out there in college basketball Dallas, but no, not Paige Beckers.
I think it's the fact that she's so good that I don't know, something does it for me. But anyway,
Is she so good? After her injury, she's
well,
been a very mid-level player in my opinion. I would take Talasia Cooper over her at this point.
that's a good point. I guess just the fact that she plays ball, I don't know. It's just something that does it for me.
Pre-injury, we could have this conversation about her being good, but post-injury, she has been a very mid-level basketball player. What were her stats the other night? I don't
She
know if
had
you can pull those
14,
up.
14 points on 5 of 16, oosh, and 2 of 6 from the
Yeah.
field. Did have 8 assists, though, so I personally find her pretty hot. But before we get canceled, Dalton Connect is
Sure, bud.
back is back in LA after being traded to the Charlotte Hornets. The trade fell through. It was going to be Dalton Connect for Mark Williams and a few smaller pieces. It seems as though Mark Williams failed his physical. There's that word for the Lakers. So Dalton Connect is back in LA. I'm sure that's not going to be awkward whatsoever. Do you have any thoughts on that, real quick, Levi?
I love Dalton Connect. I'm a Laker fan, as everybody knows. It does kind of stink that he's not going to be on the East Coast. I was kind of looking forward because I could get him on normal YouTube TV at 6 o'clock at night most of the time and actually get to watch the guy get some shots up. But I don't see him getting a whole lot of minutes for the Lakers anymore at this point. They're going to have to rotate in quite a few at the 4 and the 5 at this moment, and it kind of sucks for Dalton because I think he could be a really, really good NBA player. I don't think he can be like a all-star. I don't think he can be an Austin Reeves level guy, but am I mad that he's back on my Lakers? No, not at all, not one bit. I love to watch Dalton play, so. And he's going to get minutes throughout the year with the Lakers. It won't be 30, which is what, if he would have went to Charlotte, he's probably playing 30, 32 minutes a game or so. So it sucks for him. But at the end of the day, I think Dalton was really settling in out there in LA, and I think he's happy to be back there. So I'm not too worried about it. It does suck for the Lakers that now they have to play Jackson Hayes and I can't even remember the other guy's name because
Jarrett Vanderbilt?
No, that's fine. Vando's different. I love Vando. We could play Vando anywhere we want. He's about one of the best defenders in the league. There's another guy that plays behind Hayes. That's just a goofy guy, just a big goofy guy. But it is what it is. Maybe they'll sign Dwight Howard.
Dwight's always out there. And finally, the Vols hit their 74th consecutive week in the top 25 AP poll, which doubles the previous record of 37 weeks in the AP poll. Tennessee falls one spot to 5th, which I'm going to come out and say I think is bullshit. In what world do you go on to beat a Missouri team at home and then go on the road and just pummel an Oklahoma team that's a tournament team? I mean, they're going to be a 10, maybe a 9 seed. But that's not a bad Oklahoma team, and Tennessee just made them look like they was a bottom feeder. And personally, the fall one spot after that, it kind of irritated me. The AP poll doesn't necessarily mean anything. So in the grand scheme of things, I shouldn't be as upset as I am. But it just ticked me off. Do you have anything you want to say about that, Levi?
I don't care about the AP poll. There's a lot of really good polls out there that people could take a look at.
Pause.
And if you're, oh gosh, Dallas, Jesus Christ, dude. I don't know why you are the way you are. Wouldn't go talk to a Madeline Klein lookalike in the Walmart, but wants to make jokes like that. Crazy.
I am forever going to be heartbroken over that.
Well, you didn't shoot your shot, so that's on you. But no, I don't care about the AP poll. I'm keeping up with bracketology, some of the better bracketologists at the moment. Most of the really good people. Shout out to Bracket NKY at Bracket NKY if people want to check that out. He's been top 5 the last 3 to 4 years of nailing the brackets. He still has Tennessee as a 1 seed, so I could care less about if we're ranked 14th. I saw a UConn voter voted us 12th today, 12th in the AP poll. So I guess the Lady Vols whipping up on that ass. That UConn voter decided that he was just going to punish the men's team, which is crazy because I guess he's also mad about the butt whipping they got by Patino the other night. So drug Tennessee down quite a bit. But no, I don't give a crap about that poll, Dallas.
Normally,
it's
I
stupid. To be honest, if it's up to me, Dallas, the ESPN, if they were worth any crap at all, or any of the broadcasting channels, they would take a poll from Ken Palm, Torvik, Haslam, the AP poll. They'd make a giant metric, and then they would just poll everybody based off that giant metric. But then they want to talk about the net, and here we are again, not using the net rankings, but apparently they matter the most. So, yeah, I could care less what the number is beside Tennessee's name or any other team's name at this point. Like, let's start talking about March. We're about a month off from getting it popping off. So,
which is bittersweet if you ask me. I love the games, but knowing it's coming to an end is always something that just kind of hurts me deep down inside. But I guess with that being said, we'll wrap up this week's edition of the Beyond the Arc podcast, and I will begin to get this edited and thrown up hopefully tonight, since Tennessee's on the road tomorrow. From Dallas and Levi, go Vols.
go Vols, brother.